Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan. My name is Liaquat. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Right, we are going through Mukhtasar al-Qudoori. And as you guys know, this is the series where I don't know how long it's going to take. But inshallah, we are going to finish this. We have reached somewhere almost mid chapter of fasting. And inshallah, we'll finish inshallah. So if you guys enjoy this series, if you enjoy my videos, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment as well. Right, so let's look at the questions for today. So the questions for today are: does a person's fast break if they have an orgasm in other than the private parts? Number 2, what's the ruling of someone who has medicine applied into an open gash in the head? What is the ruling of having nose drops? Why have later Hanafis revised the ear drops rule? Is a person allowed to chew something that doesn't have bits breaking off like plastic? What is the ruling of a mother chewing food for a baby? And if a traveler missed 10 days of fast and dies before Ramadan is over, does the responsibility of making up the fast rest on him? Alright, so let's have a look then at what's happening. So first of all, جامع يجامع مجامعة. Right, this means sexual intercourse. Okay, sexual intercourse. Farj means literally private parts. It could refer to the vagina, or it could refer to penis, or even the rectum as well. Anzala yunzilu inzal means to have an orgasm. And ifsad, afsada yufsidu, ifsad, to spoil. Ihtaqana yahtaqinu, ihtiqan is to actually apply medicine into the rectum. Right, so applying medicine in the rectum, and I'm not sure what the medical term for it is. If you guys know, put in the comments. Ista'ata yasta'itu, isti'at is from the word sa'ut, which is basically nose drops, applying medicine in the nose. They call it sa'ut, and this is supposed to be aqtara, by the way. Aqtara yuqtiru iqtar. Put an alif there, hamza. Right, so it means to drop, to give drips or drops. Udhunay's ears. Dawa yudawi mudawatan. It means to treat, to give medicine to someone. And ja'ifatan is basically a wound, which is a penetrating wound into the torso. And I was going to show you guys some pictures, but then I thought, you know what, this is going to be too gruesome. So wound into the torso. And then ammatun is basically a wound, like an open gash wound in the head, where you can see the brain. Okay, so Jaifa is the one that's in the belly, the torso, and Am is in the head. Alright, Rat, it means moist. Wasala yasilu, you guys should know that. Jawf, it means like the internal, inside. It usually refers to the torso. Dimagh is the brain. Aftara yuftiru. Iftara can mean to break fast or not fast. Aqtara fi ihlili. Ihlil means the urethra. So the urethra tube is known as the ihlil. And then dhaqa yadhuqu is to taste something. To taste. And then bifamihi, fam means mouth. Yukrahu, okay. Tamadagha yamdaghu, it means to chew. And then sabi madgh alk. It's basically like a kind of gum thing. I don't know what it's called in English, but it was basically like some sort of a piece, like it's like a stone or something which is similar, which people used to chew in the olden days, and it's to help them clean their teeth and other things. But it never had any, like, it wasn't like a sweet, like a gobstopper, which would break off into the mouth. Particles would break off into the mouth. Yeah, so it's solid. It literally, it's like chewing a piece of plastic. That's what the ilk was. And then izdada yazdadu, it means to increase. Marad, it means illness. And istadarra yastadirru, from the word darar, yeah, which means harm. Okay, what else do we have here? Lazima yalzamu, you guys know that. This means to become lazim, necessary. Sahha yasihhu, it means to be healthy or to become fit, well. Right. And aqama yuqimu is to reside. And then you have, that's it. Alright, let's do a bit of tarkeeb. So man jama'a. Jama'a yujami'u mujama'atan. This is a fi'l madi wahid mudhakkar. فيما دون is مضاف, فرج is مضاف إليه, أنزل is فعل, and then قضاء is the مبتدأ and عليه is the خبر. لا كفارة, لا نفي الجنس, عليه وليس في إفساد الصوم مضاف إليه, في غير رمضان, yep, you guys got it right, it's غير منصرف. كفارة, and this is the ism of كان. من احتقن is the فعل فاعل, أو استعطى فعل فاعل again, أو أقتر, yes, أقتر فعل فاعل again. في أذنيه سجار مجرور times 2, أو داوى يداوي مداواة فعل فاعل. جائفة is the مفعول به, which is like we said, that hole in the torso. Amma is basically مفعول به as well, معطوف. بدواء جار مجرور. رطب صفة, فوصل يصل إلى جوفه أو دماغه. أفطر يفطر إفطار. وإن أقتر فعل فاعل. في إحليله جار مجرور. لم يفطر since the جزاء. عند أبي حنيفة ومحمد. وقال أبو يوسف يفتر. You can say يفتر or you can say يفتر. يفتر, we'll stick to يفتر. Okay, so ومن ذاق فعل فاعل. شيئا, شيئا is the مفعول به. بفمه لم يفتر. ويكره له ذلك. ويكره فعل نائب فاعل مجهول. للمرأة أن تمضغ is the نائب فاعل of يكره. Yeah, so يكره is a فعل مجهول and أن تمضغ is نائب فاعل. لصبيها الطعام. طعام is the مفعول به أو تمضغ. إذا كان لها منه بد is the اسم of كان, like you say لا بد, اسم of كان. ومضغ الإلك مضاف إليه. لا يفتر, yeah, so is the خبر. Now this is الصائمة. Shall we say صائمة مفعول به? I feel comfortable with الصائم. What do you guys say? لا يفتر الصائم. Yeah, because if you translate it as لا يفتر الصائمة, it does not break a fasting person. It's fine, but then I would prefer with the يفطر. Yeah, because this word seems to be a lazim word. ويكره, anyway, يكره فعل نائب فاعل. ومن كان, new sentence, كان مريضا is the خبر of كان. في رمضان is the جار مجرور. ازداد يزداد ازدياد, this is the فعل, and مرضه is the فاعل. Okay, so ازداد, his مرض increased. Okay, وقضى كان مسافرا is the خبر. لا يستدر يستدر فعل فاعل. بالصوم, فصومه مبتدا, أفضل خبر, and it's غير منصرف, so that's why it's single ضمة. وإن أفطر وقضى جاز. وإن مات المريض فعل فاعل أو المسافر وهما واو حالية, هما على حالهما لم يلزم هما القضاء فعل فاعل. وإن صح المريض أو أقام المسافر فعل فاعل ثم مات, so جول, لازمهما القضاء, لازم الفعل, القضاء is the فاعل بقدر الصحة والإقامة. Okay, let's have a look at the masail then. What masail do we have over here? Alright, so let's say for example there's a man and there's a woman, alright, and we know that sexual intercourse in the private parts, in the farj, in the vagina, and as an extension in the rectum, which is totally impermissible, but sexual intercourse in the vagina and sexual intercourse in the rectum will nullify the fast, and in Ramadan, if it's done deliberately, it will necessitate kafara, like we mentioned. Yeah, so what about if a person was to have sexual intercourse but not in the vagina and the rectum? Meaning the man and the woman, let's say, masturbated each other, or through some other method they reached orgasm. So in this case, So whether it's from the top of the body or the lower part of the body, it's the same. Meaning that it will break the fast. Yeah, it will break the fast, but it will not necessitate kafara. Yeah, if they reach orgasm, it will break the fast, but it will not necessitate kafara. If they don't reach orgasm, then their fast is still intact. Although obviously what they've done is considered to be offensive. Not offensive in the sense that kafara offensive, but it's makruh. So let's have a look at this then. So وَمَنْ جَامَعَ, whoever has sexual intercourse, فِيمَا دُونَ الْفَرْجِ. Remember, this is farj, not faraj, with a fatha. It's farj in school. Whoever has sexual intercourse in other than the farj, in other than the private parts. فَأَنْزَلَ. So even if they have sexual intercourse on top of the private parts, but not in the private parts. فَأَنْزَلَ, right, so over there, has an orgasm. فَعَلَيْهِ الْقَضَى, has to do qata. وَلَا كَفَارَ, no kafara. So today, I'm going to be explaining 8 masalas to you first of all. This is the first one, okay? This is the first out of the 8 masalas, which is to do with the idea of, we know that sexual intercourse nullifies the fast. But what kind of situations? So sexual intercourse in the vagina and the rectum nullifies the fast and kafara is necessitated. And any other form of sexual gratification besides this area will nullify the fast, but it will not necessitate kafara. That's basically what it's trying to say. Alright, that's the masala number 1. Now, this kafara issue only applies to Ramadan fasts, okay? It does not apply to qada, it does not apply to nafal, or it does not apply to wajib fasts. Only to Ramadan, specific. وَلَيْسَ فِي إِفْسَادِ الصَّوْمِ, and there is not in nullification of the fast, فِي غَيْرِ Ramadan, in other than Ramadan, any kafara. Right? Straightforward. Okay, now remember we said eating and drinking nullifies the fast here. And the rule basically was any sort of nourishment that the body receives through the natural orifice, which is the mouth and the nose and the private parts, breaks the fast. Okay. So here the fuqaha, they want to discuss like, what about like if a person was to put into someone's body some medication or some nourishment through other than these natural orifices, then what? So let's have a look at this then. So he mentions 5 things over here. Number 1 is, what if a person has some sort of like a rectal medication, so medicine or tablets or something that's been inserted into the rectum and it's absorbed into the rectum. What about this? Will this break the fast? So the rule is yes, right? So this will break the fast. Okay, what about if a person has a nose medication that has some sort of tube inserted into their nose, or some sort of medication stripped into the nose and it goes into the throat? What about this? So yes, that will also break the fast. Okay, what if a person has eardrops? So eardrops, he says, well, eardrops also breaks the fast as well. So he believes that between the ears and between the throat, there's a clear passage and the eardrops literally go into the, okay. So he believes this. And we're going to come back to this issue about the eardrops in a bit. And what about opened cavity wounds? So open cavity wounds in the torso. So let's say your body, somewhere on your body, you have like a hole, right, in your torso. Some doctor puts medicine into it. What will happen there? So fast will break, right, because it's directly got in. But if it's like a wound, which is like a flesh wound, but you can't see the inside of then no, it won't. And head cavity, a gash in the head. So someone has injured themselves in the head and you can see the brain and medicines applied. This will also nullify the fast as well. So all these 5 things, he says, will nullify the fast. So why is that? So the idea is basically that something has entered into the body directly. So normally it goes through the throat, right? But here it's gone through, the cavity of the head, right there. Or for example, like the torso, if there's like some sort of a deep wound, right? And the doctor applies medicine inside of it. So that will also be considered to be breaking of the fast. So the aim has been achieved. But the issue obviously over here would be, what about through injection, right? So through muscle, someone injects something, or for example through veins, or through some sort of like cream or something that someone puts on. So the Hanafis, later Hanafis discuss this, and many of them say it doesn't break the fast. Okay, so man ihtaqana, whoever has this rectal medication, right, this one, or ista'ata, or has nose drops, or aqtara, or has drops placed in the ears, or dawa, or treats a ja'ifa, which is a wound in the torso that's penetrating the cavity, or ammatan, or has a head gash wound, and treats it with moist medicine, okay, moist medicine, bidawarut, as opposed to dry medicine, like powder or something. So if they put powder into it, then it won't break the fast. But if they put moist medicine into it, then that will. فَوَصِلَ إِلَى جَوْفِهِ, and it reaches the jawf, أو دماغه, or it reaches into the brain, أفطر, the person will have broken their fast. Now obviously this is all based upon medieval understanding of medicine, right? And many of the later Hanafis have actually changed the opinion regarding eardrops and said that eardrops actually do not break the fast even if you put them in Ramadan, because there's no open passage between the ear hole and between the throat, right? There's actually an eardrum. So whatever you put in gets absorbed into the body rather than passing through. But if someone had a torn eardrum and the medicine went inside of that and went to the throat, then that would break the fast. So this is why certain masail also are reviewed over the years when sort of like the understanding of the body is improved. Alright, so what about now the next one is, so all of these things break fast, okay, according to Imam al-Qudoori, based upon their classical understanding. Now we don't have anything in hadith or something like that that kind of tells us what the ruling of rectal medication is, or in the nose or in the ears. We don't have any specific hadith about it. That's why we're basing it upon our understanding of the ijtihad. Alright, what about, for example, if a person has some medication applied inside the urethra? So let's say, let me try to draw as best as possible. So imagine this is the urethra, this is the private part, this is the urethra, so there's like a tube that goes all the way down to the bladder. So imagine someone applies medicine inside of this urethra. Would that nullify the fast? So there's a difference of opinion between Imam Abu Hanifa and between Abu Yusuf. Imam Abu Hanifa and Muhammad as well, their position on this is that it won't break the fast because there's a barrier. Yes, it does get into the body, but between the cavity and between the outside, there's actually like a body. There's a barrier. So therefore, it's like the absorption of cream on the skin. It doesn't break the fast. Even though cream gets into the body, it doesn't break the fast. So they say that if medicine's applied in this, it won't break the fast. Whereas Imam Abu Yusuf says no, he believes that it does break the fast. It gets into the body. Right. So his argument over here would be that it doesn't matter if there's a barrier. He believes that it gets directly into the body through the urethra. So this is where you have like differences of opinions as well between the scholars and their understanding of the physiology of the body as well. So وَإِنْ أَقْتَرَ, if a person was to have drips فِي إِحْلِيلِهِ, in his urethra, لَمْ يُفْتِرْ, he doesn't break his fast. In the Abi Hanifa Muhammad, وَقَالَ Abu Yusuf says يُفْتِرْ, he will break his fast. And that's it. So you see how the understanding of two scholars can differ based upon how they see a particular issue from the light of Sharia. So وَمَنْ ذَاقَ, okay, next masla now. Alright, so this is why I was saying to you about the injections one. Right, so when you inject, it's like it doesn't really get into the cavity directly. It has to go through layers. Yeah, so that's why the medicine not necessarily surely getting into the means that you can't say the fast is broken. But some scholars say if a person has an intravenous medication through the veins, then this would break the fast, right, if it's not necessary. Okay, now let's say for example, like next masla, there is a person and this person has a tongue and someone puts something on their tongue, right? Sometimes you put water in your mouth and you can taste the water even if you don't swallow it. So tasting something, does that break your fast? You haven't swallowed it, you just tasted it on your tongue. Right, you put something on your tongue, tasted it, spat it out. So would that break the fast? So the Hanafi say no, it doesn't break the fast. Yeah, so just tasting something, remember, taste does not mean you nibble on it and you swallow it. No. Taste means that a person, they put it into their mouth, like on their tongue, and they sort of like taste it and then spit it out. If any particles go down the throat, the fast breaks, remember that. Right, so this is why when we say taste, man dhaqa, it literally means just have a taste. So swish something around your mouth, spit it out. Man dhaqa shay'an, whoever tastes something bifamihi, with his mouth, lam yuftir, does not break his fast. However, that is considered to be makruh, yukrahu lahu dhalik. It's considered to be something which is very, very wrong. Okay, now, talking about tasting, sometimes a mother has to taste food for the child, right? Just to make sure that the food is not too hot or too cold, or got bits in there, has to chew it. So what about this chewing, the mother chewing the food for the child? And the child obviously is not going to fast. So the child has to eat. The child is not going to be forced to fast. So it says that if there's a mother and she has to chew the food for the child, then yes, she's allowed to chew the food as long as no bits go down her throat. So she spits it out, the remnants. She chews it for her, takes it out, gives it to the child. That's permissible. That's only if there is a need for it. If there's no need for it, if there's some other way that she's got some food that she doesn't need to chew, it's like, these kind of baby foods that you can get that are very soft anyway, that don't require chewing, then it's considered to be heavily disliked for her to do this. So yukrahu lil mar'ati, okay, so this is that. Yukrahu is considered to be highly offensive, makruh tahrimi, lil mar'ati, for a woman to chew food for her child, idha kana, when, laha, for her, there is a way out. Bud means like a way of escape. So if there's a way out for her, she doesn't have to do this, then for her to do it even after that is considered to be makruh. Okay, now in the past they used to have this practice, women used to have this practice of chewing like these little kind of hard pieces of material. They're called ilk, right? It was a chewing material that did not have any perceptible pieces breaking off it, right? So you can imagine it in today's time, like someone chews on the nib of a pen, the top of a pen, right? It has no bits that fall off or any juice that comes out of it and goes in the throat. So what's the ruling of this chewing a piece of plastic or piece of metal or piece of wood for that matter? What would be the ruling of this? So he says madghu al-ilk, chewing anything, al-ilk, like this gum. We're not talking about chewing gum of today. We're not talking about like Orbit or extracts or whatever. La yuftir as-saim, a fasting person does not break their fast if they chew it, right? Because simply having something in your mouth does not break the fast. It has to go down the throat, or bits of it have to go down the throat. Does that make sense? Okay. Wa yukrahu, however, it's considered to be highly offensive, highly makruh, for a person to do this for no reason. Right. Next. Now, in the Quran, Allah has exempted two groups of people from having to fast in Ramadan and has allowed them to make them up after Ramadan. Right? These two groups of people are travelers and ill people. Right? So travelers and ill people. Traveler is because he's going to go on a journey. He's going to probably find some difficulty on the journey, and it's going to cause him a lot of stress, and therefore fasting on top of that is going to give him stress upon stress. So the Sharia, the Quran says, "Man kana maridan aw ala safarin fa iddatun min ayyamin ukhar." They can make up their fast later on. Likewise, an ill person, naturally an ill person, many people who are ill, they have to take regular medicine throughout the day, or maybe their body's exhausted and they can't fast properly. So he says, if there is a person who is a traveler, they can make up their fast, or ill person make up their fast later on, right? So straightforward. It's a very sort of like, it makes sense, this ruling does. Right. So now when it comes to the ill person, okay, this sort of like illness that they have, even if they don't have the illness but they're scared their illness will increase. So they've got an illness, let's say. So they've got an illness, but they're scared that the illness will increase. Then what? So if they're scared the illness will increase, if they fast, then they can take this dispensation. Right? So interesting. But if they're not ill, right, if they're not ill at all, and they're scared they might get ill, right, then that's a different issue. That's not mentioned here. That's a different issue that the Hanafis discuss later on. Okay, so let's have a look at this then. And already a traveler. So traveler, we said, if a person is traveling, the Quran says, "Antasumu khayrun lakum," that if you can travel and you can still fast, it's always better for you to fast, but you still have an option, right, to make it up later on. So, man kana maridan, whoever is ill, fi Ramadan, in the month of Ramadan, fakhafa, and it fears, in sama, that if he fasts, izdada maraduhu, his marad will increase. Aftara, the person can, so aftara here is translated as, the person does not have to fast. Yeah, the person does not have to fast. وقضى, and can do qada. وإن كان مسافرا, and if he's a musafir, لا يستضر بالصوم, who is not harmed by fasting, so the journey is not that difficult for him, فصومه أفضل, then for him to fast is always better, but it's not necessary. Okay, now the final issue over here is this. Let's say, for example, like when aftara qada wa jaza, and if he does not fast, then he obviously does qada and is permissible. Right, final masala now. So this guy who's a traveler or who's an ill person, they've obviously missed some days in Ramadan, haven't they? So if someone has missed days in Ramadan, what happens? Right, what happens? They have to make up the days after Ramadan. But what if they die before being able to make up those days? Interesting. Yeah, so they were ill, and so this is 1, 2, 3, these are days of Ramadan, and then in the green, that's the Shawwal. So let's say, for example, they miss the first 5 days. Actually, you know what? Let's make it the last days. Okay, they missed the last 3 days of Ramadan because of illness or because of journey. And basically what happened was they died before the month started. So if they died before the month started, or if they died before they healed, right? So the red represents they're still ill or they're still on a journey. They died in that RIP. Then they don't have to make up any qada, because qada is only according to your ability. So if you haven't healed or you haven't returned home, that means that the Sharia will not hold you accountable because you weren't able to make it up. You didn't have the capacity to make it up. You were still under dispensation. So this is why there's no qada for this individual, right? Irrespective of whether ill or musafir. However, let's say, for example, like this person was got better. So let me just move this to the side. These lessons get quite longer these days, don't they? Okay, so let's say, for example, day 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of Shawwal. So what happened was they got better on day 6. Day 6 they got better. So 7 they were okay. 8 they died on 8. So they had 1 day to make it up. Now obviously if they've missed 3 fasts and they were only okay for 1 day, what happens in this situation? So what's going to happen in this situation, 2 of the fasts will be cancelled out because they weren't able to make up all 3, but they were able to make up 1. So they will be held responsible for that 1. Like, you had the chance to make up this 1 qada, you didn't make it up, and therefore you have to make that up. And how do you make it up? You're dead, aren't you? Well, you know, you should leave behind like a in your will to your family that, look, you know, from my money, can you give fidya from my money? Right, and that's what basically should happen. Anyway, in mata al-maridu, if an ill person dies, or musafir, wahuma, whilst both of them, the ill and the musafir, are both in the same condition, meaning the ill person is still ill and the musafir is still a musafir. Lam yalzamhum al-qada. Both of them will not have to do qada. Wa in sahha al-marid, however, if the marid gets well, or aqam al-musafir, or the musafir resides, let me change the color of this. Okay, so in sahha al-marid, the marid gets better, or the musafir resides, thumma mata, and then they both die, lazimahum al-qada. Qada will be lazim, necessary upon them, biqadari sihhat wal-iqama, according to their health and according to their residency. Yeah, so just like I showed you, if they were healthy for 1 day and then they died, they'll have to make it for that 1 day. If they were healthy for 2 days, 2 days and 3, etc. And there you have it, guys. Those are the 8 maslas for today that we have covered. Alhamdulillah. So what were the maslas today? So first of all, we talked about this issue of sexual intercourse and different, for example, sexual gratification. Does that break your fast in any other way? We also talked about this issue with regards to the gashes in the body, the holes in the body, or applying medicine through another orifice. And we also talked about this issue with regards to the urethra, applying medicine in the urethra, the ikhtilaf between Abu Hanifa, Muhammad, Abu Yusuf. And we also mentioned about the plastic issue. We also talked about the tongue tasting. Then we talked about the plastic issue, the mother chewing. Then we talked about the plastic issue, chewing something like gum. and then we talked about the traveler and the ill person, and finally, if they were not to get better. Khalas, that's today's lesson. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let's check out the questions. Okay, so question number 1. Does a person's fast break if they have an orgasm? Supposed to be they have an orgasm in other than the private parts. What do you guys think? Yes or no? If they have an orgasm, yes, it does break, but no kafara. Okay, number 2. What's the ruling of someone who has medicine applied into an open gash in the head? So we said if it gets to the brain, does it break the fast? Yes, it does. If it doesn't, then no. What's the ruling of having a nose drops? Does it break fast or not? Yeah, what do you say? So yes, it does. Nose drops that go into the throat, it will. But if it doesn't go in the throat, then it won't. So sometimes it's a medicine that just stay in the cavity. What about, why have later Hanafis revised the eardrops rule? Any idea? Well, remember we said this is all to do with the changing of the understanding of the human body, right? Is a person allowed to chew something that doesn't have bits breaking off like plastic? So we said they're allowed, but it's considered to be makruh. What is the ruling of a mother chewing food for a baby? Is he allowed? So we said yes, if there's a need for it, but she can't swallow anything. And if a traveler missed 10 days of fasts and dies before Ramadan is over, does the responsibility of making up the fasting rest on him? So we said, if he gets better or resides, then he has to, depending on how many days he was okay for. And that's it basically. So, Jazakumullah khair guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting my channel and helping me do all these videos. May Allah bless all of you guys. It is a difficult thing to make these videos, trust me. I mean, this video is just over half an hour here, but the amount of time it actually takes me to record the video and then edit the video and then put the sound on the video and all these things, it actually goes up to about 2 hours or more. So, Jazakumullah khair, thank you very much. May Allah reward all of you. If any of you guys want to support my channel, help me in the work that I do, and you like the work that I do as well, first of all, make dua for me, share my work with others as well, and also try to support my channel as well, whatever you can. Jazakumullah khair, and I will see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.